when the first time I heard Peterson say that people do not have ideas, ideas have people. Yep. Man, I'm getting chills right now just thinking about it. It blew I literally had to stop and say, "Holy cow! What is he saying?"
What's funny?
Oh my! It changes everything.
That isn't even his idea. I think he's pulling that from Carl Jung. And what's funny is that when you actually listen to Peterson, realize that most of what Peterson is saying, this is when I first heard Peterson, it was funny. I kind of was like, "What's the big deal?" Because I felt like he was saying things that I kind of had already had heard to some extent. These weren't, he was saying things that are familiar, but he was using different language to say it. And what it is that Peterson is drawing ideas, and he even admits this, like, I'm just drawing ideas from the Western tradition.
Yes.
And that's part of the thing that makes you go, like I said, we've had this conversation before. He's saying, hey, everybody, we had this conversation. Let's talk about it because it's actually incredible. And then but he does it in language that is modern and secular.
Right.
And so
there's very little that Peterson puts out that is actually original thought. And I don't mean that at all derogatory, because I mean, he has said himself, he borrows from Jung, he borrows from Nietzsche. And that's in a way, really, to me, the mark of a good thinker, someone who is well-read, someone who understands what these other intellectual giants, these people who have had these amazing thoughts and these amazing gosh, I'm trying to think of how to term it. They've wrestled with all the difficult ideas and take pieces of this and pieces of that and put it all together and say, this makes sense, and Peterson has created a worldview that makes sense, where he's borrowed from all these other people that have put in the work, the intellectual work of battling with ideas.
And he is, and so what Peterson did, and what a lot of us don't do, is you got to look around and go, we live in a magical world. Like, you and I are having this conversation using this kind of technology with unbelievable, bellies full of food and
yes.
How did this happen? Because if you actually study human history, it's it ain't like this. Right. And you have to go, what? How did this come about? And what he did is he said, well, I'm going to go look and try and figure out, what are the ideas? Again, if ideas sort of shape human history and human behavior, what are the ideas that people have had in their head over the course of history? And some of those ideas, as he rightly points out, are dark and dangerous and terrible and lead to millions of people dead. Yes. And others cause untold prosperity and happiness, and he does this excellent job of just exploring psychologically the way that ideas in Western history have molded the way that we think, the way that we look at the world. And he rightfully points out that those who denigrate things like the Bible as a bunch of superstitious nonsense are totally missing the boat. And again, as someone who's exploring the level 1 conversation, seeking this God, seeking this sort of, is there this, there seems to be something more. What is it? Boy, I tell you what, that sure seems compelling to me, that if I got to place my faith somewhere, which I do. And I want to make that quick point, actually, just to kind of segue off of that. Again, Jordan Peterson points this out, but it's funny because it's actually rooted in the scriptures. Yeah. We all place our faith somewhere. He says, what you say you believe, I don't care what you say you believe. I care, what do you do? Your behavior manifests what you really believe. Another way of saying that is that your faith manifests what your faith is in. In other words, by their works,
you shall know. That's right.
You shall know, their faith is manifest through their works. That, we have that classic discussion about faith and works. He's just saying the same thing. He's saying, if you want to know what someone actually believes, look at what they do. And so what happens is, when you do that, you start going, holy cow, what we do is predicated on what we believe. Man, ideas really matter. And what are the ideas that have led to what we have today? And it's traceable. And what are the ideas that I individually what am I placing my faith in? That isn't a question of sort of intellectual. It's like, what does my behavior betray that I actually have my faith in? And what should my behavior betray based on what I want to be and where am I placing my trust? Right? Because you can never have, this is another thing that I think is a major, it was a game changer for me. You only have so many options of things you can place your faith in. You only have, like, you've got to have some, like, you're going to place your chip somewhere. And the question is where? Are you going to place it on atheistic determinism and that? Do you act that way? Is it even possible to do that? Am I going to place it in Protestant theology? Am I going to place it in, Hinduism? Where am I going to place my faith and base my life around? I have to throw down my chips somewhere. And often my thing is to anyone, it's like, send your missionaries, dude. Like, if you got a better place for me to place my chips, I'll throw my chips there.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for checking out one of our short clips. If you'd like to view this episode in its entirety, be sure and click on this link right here. We'd also love to have you join in the conversation by utilizing the comment section. We want to know what you're thinking and what your thoughts are on the topics of discussion. If you're enjoying this content, be sure and like our videos. Also, if you would like to know when there's more content released, be sure and subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you find that you're on the go and it's better to listen to us that way, you can find us on any of the major podcast platforms. Also, you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at Saints in the South. You can also share this information with any of your friends and family who you think would enjoy this content. Thank you so much for all the support, and we'll see you on the next episode.